Welcome, Oliver.
Hey, thank you for having me.
How are you?
It's a beautiful space here.
Oh, thank you.
How's your weekend been?
I had an amazing weekend.
Yeah?
Yeah, Tattoo Convention is just the way I like it. Small, intimate, and a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of cool tats.
A lot of cool tattoos.
Yeah.
Is your first time in Iceland, or?
First time in Iceland. This is like my 6th day.
Yeah?
I've been here 6 days, right? 5 or 6 days?
6 days.
Yeah.
It's okay?
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah. What have you been up to?
You know, mostly just work.
Yeah?
That's pretty much all I do. Just wherever I am, whatever I do, I go and work. And
Yeah.
tattooing is my favorite. So I like to go to different places, go to tattoo shops, meet the tattoo people, and do tattoos, and hang out with people while they get tattooed. And,
Right.
you know, that's my tourist.
Yeah.
That's my tourism, is seeing the different tattoos in different places. So I've been all over the world, and I've just mostly spent all my time in tattoo shops.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You started when you were 19, right?
It depends on, you know, this is the debate every time. You're like, when did you start tattooing? Yeah. I started tattooing myself when I was 16 with just pick and poke.
Yeah.
But you don't really, you know, and then when I was 19 is when I made my first homemade tattoo machine.
Yeah.
And tattooed a bunch of drunk friends
Yeah.
and on drugs.
Okay.
And then I ended up getting in some trouble, going to jail.
Okay.
And I got out of jail and decided to actually try to really do tattoos.
Yeah.
And I got a job at a tattoo shop, which was not really a great tattoo shop, but it was great people, and it was my footway in the door.
Yeah.
And then I got the opportunity to learn to tattoo for real from Richard Stell when I was 20, right before I turned 22, so 21 years old.
Yeah.
22 years old. And that's when I started. That's when I really started professionally tattooing. Even though I was in a tattoo shop before that, it didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the fuck I was doing.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, you started in Dallas, Texas, right?
Yes, sir.
That's where you're from, right?
I grew up in Fort Worth, Texas.
Yeah.
Which is the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Yeah.
They call it the DFW Metroplex, which is Dallas-Fort Worth. The airport's right in the middle.
Yeah.
And so I spent most of my time growing up going to Dallas for skate parks and punk rock shows. And, you know, Dallas was the happening, the city, and Fort Worth was more of like the cow town.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember what got you into tattooing, or?
When I was a kid, I just wanted tattoos. You know, as you know, little kids do. They draw on themselves all the time, and I drew all over my school books and drew all over my jeans and started drawing all over my arms. And as soon as I got into the punk rock scene and skateboarding, I met other older punk rockers that had homemade tattoos, and they pretty much just told us how to do it.
Yeah.
And so that's when I was 16. I started tattooing. You know, started pick and poking on myself and a couple of friends.
Yeah.
I just really always wanted tattoos.
Right.
You know, the people I saw with tattoos when I was a kid in the 70s were always bikers and
Cool
bikers
dudes.
and sailors. Basically, pretty much all it was. And then, you know, my father also rode motorcycles, and I always wanted to ride motorcycles, and I always wanted to have tattoos. And so that's pretty much what I did. I just grew up and got tattooed and rode motorcycles.
Yeah. Cool.
And I didn't. When I started tattooing, before I was in the shop, I was tattooing quite a bit. You know, but mostly just on friends and people I knew, and you know, it's just not really knowing what the fuck I was doing at all.
Yeah.
But I didn't really have the idea that it was a job.
Yeah.
And nobody I knew that had tattoos. By this time, when I was 20 years old and selling drugs and partying at clubs and going around, everybody I knew that had tattoos, they were all homemade tattoos.
Yeah.
Nobody I knew had paid money for a tattoo.
Right.
So the idea, and I'd never been into a tattoo shop.
Yeah.
So the idea that there was like a job element to it was foreign, you know. And then when I got a little older, and like I said, when I got out of jail, I was like, I'd met some people that I went to a tattoo shop. I was like, holy shit, this is like a job.
Yeah.
So I guess if I had to have a job, this is the one I was going to go for.
Right. How long was it until you opened Elm Street? Is that the first shop you opened, or?
First shop I opened was Elm Street in '96.
Yeah.
And I worked for Richard Stell for 4 years before that.
Yeah.
And Richard Stell's the guy that basically taught me how to tattoo for real.
Yeah.
And he was my mentor. And then we had a pretty big falling out. Mm. And that's when I left and opened Elm Street.
All right.
And then we had this historic feud for many, many years where we were like at odds over his ex-wife and a bunch of and some drugs and some problems and whatever. And then we both got over our bullshit and we got back to being friends, and we were friends for the last 15 years of his life.
Yeah. That's what happens when you grow up a little bit.
Yeah.
And
drugs will fuck a lot of shit up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you've traveled like all around the world. You've been different conventions and stuff. Like, are these like the type of convention Össur and Linda have? Like those more than the bigger ones?
I'm not sure exactly what the question is, but you're saying. I mean, I've been to a lot of conventions
compared to like the bigger, like huge conventions.
Well, when I first started going to tattoo conventions, in I guess it was probably 93, they were pretty small, and everyone at the tattoo convention knew everyone else at the tattoo convention, and that's what drew me to it and drew me to the traveling. And you go to a tattoo convention and you meet people from all over the country or the world, and then you get invited to go to their town, and it's kind of it was a family knit group.
Yeah.
And then the later 90s, tattoo conventions kind of really exploded. There used to be a few a year, and then there was one every month, and now there's two or three every weekend.
Yeah.
And they just kind of exploded and got bigger and bigger and bigger. And somewhere along the line, the process of selecting who's at the convention just went away. Mm-hmm. And now you have all these conventions that just sell a booth to anyone.
Yeah.
There's no kind of prerequisite for what it takes to get into that convention. And it's just like they have 300 booths, and whoever buys a booth buys a booth. And if they don't sell out, that's the fucked up problem. There's these big conventions that don't sell out. Yeah. They just add more booths. Yeah. 1 year there's 250 booths, and the next year somebody else wants to buy a booth, so they sell them a booth. And then 20 more people want to buy a booth, so they sell them a booth. And next thing you know, you got Philadelphia with 500 booths or whatever the fuck it is.
Overcrowded.
Like, stop.
Yeah.
Like, sell the fucking thing out. Like cut it off. Have a cutoff. You can't, the idea, I mean, if you're going to travel across the country or across the seas to go to a tattoo convention as a tattooer, obviously you need to make at least some amount of money to make it worth your travel.
Mm-hmm. Right.
If you got 300, 400 tattooers at a tattoo convention, how the fuck are that many tattooers all going to make $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a piece?
Not for travel.
Add it up.
Yeah.
You got to have $4 million walk in that door and get spent on tattoos that weekend.
Yeah, but then also like the tattoo industry through the day to day is like anyone who's want to be a tattooer can go online and buy a machine. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have to know how to make a needle. He doesn't have to the interest fee of getting into the business now is just if you want it. Mm-hmm. And this convention that you are talking about is not like they are picking in and they are not thinking about what kind of a tattooers or who is going to be there. It's just like if you want to be there, you can be there. So what the industry was in the beginning, that you cannot go into the industry. It was like a tight group.
Yeah.
Now it's not a tight group. It's just a group of people.
Yeah. Well, even the big, so the show started getting bigger, but shows like this show in Iceland, it's small. Mm-hmm. Everyone's invited. There's some care and concern into what happens here and who's allowed to come here. It's not just, the door's not just wide open. Mm-hmm. Right. And even some of the bigger international shows like London, to London for 20 years in a row.
Yeah.
It did get to be a really big show, but there was still a selection process of who was allowed to get in.
Yeah.
Like a quality standard, basically.
And it was big enough. The crowd in London, huge city, huge tattoo city, the clients were enough to support the tattoo artists that were going. So it grew in the right way. It got big as it all got big together. It just didn't have 1,000 tattooers and 800 clients. You know what I mean? It grew, and I think Mickey did a really good job putting that show on and making sure that that everybody got a fair share. Yeah. And he took care in selecting who was allowed to go. And if you wanted to go to that show, sometimes you had to be on a waiting list for years for a booth to open up to get in.
Yes.
Because he could have sold 1,000 more booths.
Yes.
And it would have watered it down.
Yeah.
So I think what it really, to your point about this generation of tattooing, what we're lacking is very simple. We're lacking people that care enough.
Yeah.
If you care enough about it and work hard enough for it, it's going to be better. But a lot of people don't care. A lot of people just do whatever.
Yeah.
A lot of people put on a convention and they don't care about the tattooing. They don't care about
the customers.
They don't care about the craft itself. They just care about putting on a big event and making a bunch of money.
Yeah. Do you wish it was more regulated in some way, or do you think that would be possible even?
No, I don't think so. I don't think there should be any kind of like law.
Yeah.
I think that the people involved should just care.
Yeah.
I don't think you can mandate someone to care. They're either going to care or not.
But I mean, like those types of conventions, they're probably just gonna die out anyway.
Who knows?
Probably.
I just don't go to them.
Yeah.
I just don't go to those type of conventions.
Yeah. Do you need a license to tattoo or open a shop in the States, or?
Yes, every state is different.
Yeah.
But you do have to get a license from the health department.
Yeah.
In your state, and each state has different regulations. A lot of states have individual licensing where each tattoo artist has to have a license fee. So I'm licensed in many states.
Yeah.
If you go to conventions in California every year, I keep a California license. You know what I mean? I always pay.
Yeah.
Some states, the convention will get a license that covers that weekend.
Yeah.
And then some states, the tattoo shop has a license.
Holds the license, yes.
And then whoever works in there is under that license.
Yeah.
So it just depends on the state. State to state, it alters a little bit, but pretty much the standards as far as like what it takes to get the license are pretty similar. You got to have, your standard bloodborne pathogen training, just standard stuff like that. It's not very intense.
Yeah.
There's a few states like Oregon that have some crazy, not so crazy, some little bit stricter laws.
Yeah.
Where you have to every year that you have a license in Oregon, you have to basically have some continuing education courses. So you have to like do something every year to log in a few hours of training to keep up with your licensing. So people put on seminars at tattoo conventions. And that counts. So if you go to some tattoo seminars, so you log that in, it counts as your continuing education. But it could be anything from art classes to CPR trainings or whatever it is, stuff like that, just to keep.
Yeah,
that's a good thing. Yeah.
Do you wish it were more like that?
I don't think we need to make more laws about it.
Yeah.
I think that we need to. I think we just need to promote the positivity in the industry that people care about it.
Yeah.
And I don't think that, because you get too much with regulations, you're gonna go down the path of like, what are you going to regulate? What style? Somebody uses what ink? Somebody uses what needle somebody's allowed to use? You know what I mean? Oh, well, you can't use this in Oregon. You can't use a needle any bigger than a 14 or what? I mean, who's going to decide?
Yeah, you how's it going?
And it's just going to get too much control.
Yeah.
And it is art.
Yeah.
So each artist should be able to do. If they're good, the customers will come. If they're bad, maybe they won't.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Also wanted to ask about your Guinness Book World Records thing. It was what, 415?
415 in 24 hours.
Yeah. Did you change the needle each time?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I had a pretty good setup. I've been doing a 24-hour marathon for many, many years.
Yeah.
I still do it every Friday 13th. I'm no longer trying to set any records, but I do tattoo 24 hours every Friday 13th. But for my previous record before the 415 was like 200 and something.
Yeah.
And that was without really attempting to do like a official record.
Yeah.
And I was like figuring out how I could do more, how I could make it
Yeah.
the fastest. And so what I did is I had some trays
Yeah.
set up with the machine and the ink, the ointment, and everything on a tray.
Yeah.
So as soon as I was done tattooing, one helper would take
Yeah.
the tray
Yeah.
from the previous tattoo. I put my machine down, they'd take that, and then another helper would set the next tray down with
Yeah.
everything set up, ready to go, the ink, the needle, the machine's all
Yeah.
put together. So all I had to do was like clean my hands and go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this tray would go, this tray would go, this customer get up, another customer sit down. So it was like
Bam,
That's
bam,
crazy.
I
So-
could do, and I was doing the tattoos in approximately 2 to 3 minutes a
Yeah.
piece, and that was just, I was doing
That's insane.
10, 15 tattoos an hour,
Yeah.
and I only stood up out of the chair twice. I only went and peed twice, and the only thing I did for food while I was eating is people were putting food in my mouth while I was tattooing.
Yeah, but in the old days, in the 20s and the 30s, the tattooers were just like maybe lack of customers, stuff like that. But if you had a shop close to harbor, and the ship came in, they were tattooing for 3 days.
That'd be a line down the street,
In 3
yeah.
days in a row, they didn't sleep. But
Used
then
to,
when the ship
tag
went
team.
out, they had more customers. So,
Yeah.
So it's a little bit like that.
They used to tag team, right? Like,
One of the big standard processes would be that one person would do the outline, and the next person would do
Yeah,
the shading,
shading.
and the next person do the color. So the
Colors.
customer would change chairs.
Yeah.
Like you'd get your outline, and then you go sit in the chair with the shading, and you go sit in the chair with the color. And there was a shop in Houston, Texas, that was still using that method in the 90s.
Okay.
And they were crazy. They also would do any tattoo you wanted, no matter what it was, for like $80.
no matter like the size.
No matter what it was,
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
$80. And if you got a tattoo, your girlfriend got a tattoo for free.
Good business.
It was really, really good business for all the other tattoo shops.
Yeah.
Because everybody that went there had to go to a real tattoo shop to get it fixed or covered up. But I saw, the craziest things. I saw, whole tribal sleeves that looked like they were done in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It just looked like you just started here and just went zip, 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 done.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's just a bunch of scribble and just enough to make it bleed everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it probably was that way. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
not the best.
No.
We gotta talk about it. Like Ink Master. Like how did it start? Like did they approach you or?
Yeah, there's how long of a story do we want?
As
Just
long
the
as you
long
want.
one.
Have you ever heard of Permanent Mark?
No.
Permanent Mark is a tattooer. He had a shop in Santa Barbara, California for a long time, but he worked for Hanky Panky in Amsterdam for a long time. And he's an English tattooer, but he moved to America. And he had a TV show on Spike that was about traveling the world and tattooing. And it was like a 3-part documentary thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool, but if you weren't a tattooer, it was not very interesting. It wasn't filmed in a way that the masses, it wasn't like an entertaining show unless you were behind the curtain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so tattooers, it was great. But for the mainstream,
And the customers.
It didn't do very good on the network, but it was a really cool show, and it was like the first show of that kind where he like went to Japan and got a he showed all the tattoo cultures from around the world. It was a really cool documentary, but he came up with the idea for this show that was like Top Chef or Hell's Kitchen, tattooing, basically the Ink Master idea. And he was talking with Spike, and they were talking about making it. And he contacted me and said, "Hey, man, I'm trying to make this show. You would be perfect. I want you on here. You're gonna be the guy, fucking talking shit and laughing, and you know." And I was like, yeah, okay. And then it didn't happen.
Okay.
It just went away. And then some amount of time passed by, maybe more than a year, and I get a phone call at the tattoo shop, and they're like, want to talk to me, they want to talk to Oliver, and they're like, hey, we were doing this TV show. And they explained it to me. I'm like, oh, shit, yeah. Yeah, I know about this. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, yeah, we talked about this a year ago with Permanent Mark. And the lady's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. This is different. This is a new show. Okay. And I'm just like, sounds a lot like the old show, And then they, whatever. And I get another call, and I get like 4 or 5 calls, and they're trying to like pitch this thing. And so I call Mark, and I was like, hey man, I've been getting these calls. Yeah. They're trying to get me to be on this TV show, your show that you're talking about. And he's like, those motherfuckers.
I stole it.
He's like, he had like pitched a show and had an option.
Oh man.
And then they waited. They decided not to do it with him. And they waited until the time limit was up and just left him on the curb and made the show without him.
Shit.
And so I was like, I mean, this is my perception of how it went down.
Yeah.
So who knows what those fucks at the network were actually doing. But so Mark was like, oh, those motherfuckers, And I was like, well, what do you want me to do? You want me to tell them to go fuck themselves? And he's like, hey, man, this show is going to be a great idea.
Yeah.
I think you should do it if they're going to make it. He's like, they're fucking me out of it, but whatever.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I don't know. I had a little bit of experience with tattoo television for Miami Ink.
Yeah.
And from my experience of being on the show and being there while they're filming was terrible.
Yeah.
The network people are terrible. Being on camera and trying to facilitate what you're really doing is terrible. I was on there a little bit, and you're in a room, they're filming the scene, you say something funny, everybody laughs, and then they're like, okay, cut. And then they make you go back and then say, okay, say that again. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it again.
Yeah.
You fucking cameras are here. You either got it or you didn't. Move on.
Yeah.
Like, this is reality. And they're like explaining to me that, no, this isn't real. This is reality TV. Yeah. We're faking. We want to and then they started coming up with all these ideas. And, hey, how about if you say this and he does this? And I'm like, no. No, I'm not going to how about. Yeah. I'm going to just be my fucking self, and you're either going to fucking like it or you're not.
Yeah.
And so I had this really negative interaction with being on TV, and I was like, so I didn't really care. And so with the Ink Master thing, I kind of was like already like naysaying it.
Yeah.
And it went on for a little while, like a couple of months, and then different people kept calling and getting a hold of me, and I finally just quit talking to them.
Yeah.
And then my buddy Tim Hendricks called me. It's like, hey man, I talk to Tim pretty regular, and we've been friends for 20 years. He's like, hey, I got a buddy that's in the TV industry, and he's trying to get a hold of you. And I said, oh, really? Well, they've been calling me. And he goes, well, my buddy Craig, he's a really good dude, and he's been trying to get a hold of you, but he can't get a hold of you. And I was like, well, these other people were getting a hold of me, and I got sick of them, so I quit answering their calls. Yeah. So now Craig couldn't get a hold of me. And I told the people at the shop, I was like, if those people call, just whatever, And so he's like, well, do me a favor. Talk to Craig. Yeah. He's my buddy. He's in on the show, and he wants to talk to you. So I ended up talking to this guy, Craig Borders, who worked for the network. And he was a great dude, and he kind of sold me on the deal and kind of got me in. And got me into the negotiations of being on the show. And luckily, I had that experience from being on dealing with Miami Ink before. I got a lawyer. Yeah. You know, I got an entertainment lawyer, and I got representation, and I went into the negotiations with some parameters and said, I'll do this, and I'll do this, and I'll do this, but I won't do this, and I won't do this, and I won't do this. Yeah. You know, if I'm going to be on the screen and it's going to say Oliver Peck, then I'm going to be Oliver Peck. I'm going to wear my fucking whatever I wear. I'm going to say whatever I say, and I'm not going to say something I don't think, and I'm not going to. Yeah. You know, you're not going to put me in some scenario where I'm going to act like somebody else because I'm not an actor. You know, if you want me to be an actor, we're going to do a TV show and I'm going to play a character, then pay me a shitload of money and I'll act like whatever the fuck you want. But that's not what this gig is. This gig is me saying what I think about tattoos. Yeah. And so I was able to negotiate it to where it was good, and it turned out great. Yeah. And so I am thankful to having that previous experience. Yeah. So that because other people I know came into some TV shows they just rope you in. Yeah. And once you're on there and once you sign the contract, you're stuck. And you got to do whatever the fuck it is. And a lot of those people that come on Ink Master, like as contestants, they don't really know what they're getting into until they're in there. They don't realize that they're not going to be able to wear their own clothes. Yeah. And they don't realize that they're going to have to fucking... Like, you see these people on the show, right? Yeah. Yeah. And you're like, man, are they really like that? I'm like, kind of. But every episode, every season, if you watch all the seasons, every season, there's a guy that wears a vest. You think that guy wears a vest at home?
You know, I've thought about
every
it.
season, there's a guy with suspenders. Yeah. Every season, there's a guy that wears nothing but a hoodie every day. Yeah. Every season, there's a guy that wears a tank top every day. Because they have to have a character laid out so that you recognize it. If you let 15 tattooers all do whatever they want, there's going to be 15 dudes in black T-shirts. Yeah. And you're not going to remember which black T-shirt guy is black T-shirt guy. But you're going to remember tank top guy and Hawaiian shirt guy and suspender guy and vest guy. Yeah. You know?
I've wondered that before because
every season there's an overall guy.
Yeah.
So Clean Rock 1, he was on there, and he's wearing a tank top.
He's a tank top guy?
And then he was tank top guy. Yeah. And so another guy's wearing a hoodie, and that's his character. You got to wear a hoodie. So when it's hot, hoodie's got hating life.
Oh, shit.
Because he's got a hoodie on, and it's hot. Yeah. And then when it's cold, tank top guy's fucking freezing because he's got a tank top on, you know? Right. And so Clean came back for like another season or whatever. He's like, I'll come back, but I'm not tank top guy again. You know? Okay. So just little things like that. Yeah. And there's a few people that when they signed to go on the show, they said, I'll go on, but I have to wear my own shit or whatever. Yeah. But it's pretty funny if you go back and look at all this. Yeah. And they build the characters, and it has to be recognizable, you know. Yeah. Otherwise, you wouldn't know what the fuck's going on in there. Yeah. Right.
I mean, it's their job. They probably know what they're doing, you know.
They do know what they're doing, and the reality TV format is very, very honed in at this point. You know, there's been many reality TV shows, and these producers know what they're doing. And they do a great job. And our producer. Andrea Richter, who me and her butted heads a little bit throughout the course of 13 seasons, but she's amazing. I mean, she fucking runs that fucking show, and the show wouldn't have been as good without her. You know, she did a great job, and she knows what the fuck she's doing, and I was like, dude, it's so much going on there. There's hundreds of people that make that show happen. You know, I'm on this set every day with, 80 to 150 people. There's camera, there's 12, 15 camera guys and 20 audio guys, and, a room like this with screens, like hundreds, not 100, but 50 screens everywhere, and producers are in there watching it, and it's going on. It's a massive undertaking.
I like the show. I watched a lot of it, but basically only the tattoos. I always skip like all the other bullshit.
All the drama.
Yeah.
Well, you remember what I said about the Permanent Mark show?
Yeah.
Like the Permanent Mark show that was the cool tattoo documentary? if you were a tattooer, you liked it.
Yeah.
If you weren't a tattooer, you didn't care about it.
Yeah.
Ink Master is the exact opposite.
Right.
Like, if you're a tattooer, it's not for you.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's
They
for the
didn't
people-
make it for you.
Yeah, but for the people who are getting tattooed, and that's most of the people
They
who are
made
getting
it-
tattooed, it's not all the tattooers. They can relate to it, and they watch it.
Yeah.
And what's funny is, I mean, you probably noticed this. I mean, it's undeniable that people with no tattoos love that show.
Yeah.
They love it, and people that would never have gotten tattooed now have tattoos because they watched that show.
Yeah.
Now, good or bad, better or worse, whatever you think it's done for the tattoo industry, it definitely brought clients in the door.
Yeah.
It definitely opened tattooing to, just like Miami Ink did. Like the rush of tattooing that happened after Miami Ink came out.
Yeah.
You know, people realized basically what it did is it showed the general public that you don't have to be a dirtbag degenerate drug addict to get tattoos. You know, you can get a tattoo for a good reason. You know what I mean? You can get a meaningful tattoo, you can get a beautiful tattoo, and a lot of people never thought of it like that.
Yeah.
You know, and then you get Ink Master just took it that much further and showed how much. Really, it showed how the interaction between the customer and the tattooer, you know, is that bond. You know, we're in it together. You want this, I have to work to give it to you. You know what I mean? And in the TV show, it's dramatized. It's a little bit romanticized, but that is how it is in real. You know, you do build a bond with your customers, and you do, especially when you do a lot of tattoos on the same person. You know, you spend a lot of time with these people, and they spend a lot of time with you. Like my customers that I've tattooed, you know, heavily. Like I know when their kids turn 18. You know, I know all these things. I know their whole life story. I know, and they know mine, and we hang out outside. You know, come to 4th of July parties and stuff. You know, it's a very bonding experience, and a lot. And I think that little niche of that Ink Master like gave that to people.
Yeah.
And people started coming into tattoo shops wanting that. They wanted to find the artist that was for them. You know what I mean? And in a sense, it's done a lot of good.
Yeah.
I think you could probably find a lot of good things and probably a lot of bad things as well, you know. But
I mean, you can complain about anything.
Yeah,
You
of
know,
course.
and a lot of tattooers will complain, oh, fucking TV show, fucking this and that. Now these fucking people coming in here acting like they know about tattooing, you know.
Yeah.
Don't blow it out. Don't do this. I want it, you know, and the customers get all these keywords from the TV shows I really want it saturated, you know, and like, you don't even know what the fuck you're talking about, man. Just, you know, just get a tattoo.
Exactly.
But I mean, it definitely gave a lot of people, you know, just more insight on what it takes to get a good tattoo, which I think is a good thing.
yeah.
You know, you should do some investigation into who you get tattooed by. You should look at their work. You should let this artist prove to you that they're the one for you, you know, instead of just. We have a thing in America now where there's so many tattoo shops popping up that there's just every little side street has a tattoo shop or whatever. And it's like, in my mind, I'm like, if you want to go to McDonald's, I think you're an idiot because McDonald's sucks. But you're going to go to the closest McDonald's to your house. You're not going to be like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm going to drive 20 more minutes because that McDonald's is better.
Yeah,
And it's not. It's the same. But with tattooing, are you just going to go to the closest tattoo shop to your house?
Not really.
But people,
A lot of people do.
A lot of people do, and then they learn.
Yeah.
They get a tattoo and they're not happy with it. And like, well, I just thought I went to the closest tattoo shop,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, yeah, it's not McDonald's, it's not Starbucks. You don't just stop at the closest one on your way home. You know what I mean? You should do a little bit more research into what you're doing. And I think the explosion of tattooing has opened up the door for all these subpar tattoo shops to thrive a little bit.
Yeah.
But then that pendulum's going to swing back the other way, and all these people that aren't happy with their tattoo are now going to go back and.
I always think if you have a shitty shop, eventually people are going to realize, you know, and you're gonna get less and less business until you go out of business.
Yeah, but there's new people every day.
That's true.
It is so hard to put a tattoo shop out of business. It is so hard.
You
know,
tried?
I'm just saying. It's like it. You know.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
A couple of guys in a tattoo shop can pay the bills and stay open forever.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and also like you know, when in the old days when people were trying to be tattooers, you came in and you start to taking out the trash, cleaning the floor, scrubbing tubes, cleaning needles, and you moved up a little bit. And you have to prove it. You have to show your loyalty to get into this small, tight crowd. But now, you just go on the internet and just order it, and you order it. You don't order any old school machines now and try to figure them out. You just order.
Yeah.
And after a couple of friends, you are.
Well, y'all don't have Walmart over here, do you?
No.
No.
Do you know what it is?
Yeah.
Of course.
Costco. Yeah, Costco.
Well, Walmart, you can order tattoo machines on Walmart.com.
No.
In America.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Really?
Like, not even, I mean, of course, Amazon,
Yeah.
but like, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You can just order it anywhere. Like, I grew up when you wanted to order tattoo supplies.
Yeah.
Tattoo supply companies
Right.
would only ship to a tattoo shop, would only sell to you if you could prove to them.
Yes.
And like, one thing that really sad, National Tattoo Supply went out of business
Okay.
last year or this year. And they were like the first big tattoo supply company. But you literally, when I first started working for Richard Stell, like, he had to order a machine
you
for
can
me.
order.
And then after it took, I worked for Richard I was tattooing full time for over a year before Richard would say, I'm gonna set you up with a national account so you can order supplies. And you had to get in and get a national supply tattoo account. And that was something. That was a big deal. Like,
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah, a milestone in your career, Yeah.
And there's nothing like that anymore because there's little crackhead tattoo shops around the corner that sell tattoo supplies.
Yeah, and you can basically buy everything, like you said, from like Walmart or Amazon or whatever. And especially, I think there's probably people who go around like looking for apprenticeships or whatever, get a few no's, and then just go, okay, fuck it, I'll just go home and order it.
Yeah.
Yeah, then you have the different kind. Now you have the new machines. Now you have the iPads.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking about it, over the convention, and I'm so happy that none of my tattoos have been drawn up in an iPad. They were done on a tracing paper. They were laid on my skin. They were drawn out how big space it is, and they were put up, and they draw it a couple of times and then put it on. Yeah. Now you have these I'm not going to call it machines. And then you have. And then you have.
I call them the dildo.
He calls them dildo.
I was gonna say, on the subject of machines, like, I spotted the sticker, the no dildo zone.
Yeah.
And the pin. Yeah. Do you hate those machines or?
I don't. I have a lot of friends that use them.
Yep.
And a lot of really good tattooers use them, and a lot of people do really good tattoos with them.
Yep.
But I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't allow them at my tattoo shop.
Okay.
I have a promise from myself to my customers that they're going to get a real tattoo by an artist that cares and uses real machines, that someone who's dedicated enough to care enough to learn how to use a machine before they put a tattoo on somebody.
Yeah.
And a lot of great tattooers have started using the dildo.
Yeah.
And the reason that they all use for why they use it is because it's easier and it's more convenient. And if that's your main goal in life, to make things easier and more convenient, then I'll call everyone out and say you're fucking weak and you're fucking lazy. Because when you make things easier, to do, you get weaker.
Yeah.
If you have to pick something up and put it on a table and it weighs 1 pound or 20 pounds, if you know what I mean, you're going to get weaker if you don't lift a heavier thing. You're going to get weaker. If you make something more convenient, you're going to get lazier.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the remote fucking control, dude. Remote control for your TV.
Yeah.
You used to have to get up, take 3 steps, change the channel. Then they invented this button so you could sit on your fucking ass.
Yeah.
Somebody took the time, the research and development, and the technology to save you from getting out of your fucking chair.
Yeah.
Somebody spent millions of dollars, and now everyone has a fucking remote because they're too fucking lazy to get out of their get off their fucking ass. And that's sad.
Yeah.
All you care about is making it easier and more convenient. That's all. That's your main goal in life.
Yeah.
You shouldn't want to strive to be better. You shouldn't strive to work harder. You shouldn't strive to care more. No, it's too easy. It's more convenient. I like it when it's easier. I like it when it's more convenient. Well, you're fucking weak and lazy. And you look like a fucking dildo when you're using that dildo.
Right.
So everybody I see
Yeah.
using that thing, you know what I always do? I always take a photo of them.
Yeah.
Because in fucking 20 years, you're going to see a photo of me with my fucking tattoo machine looking badass, with my fucking brass, handmade brass machine, and they're going to see a picture of you with your little plastic Chinese-made dildo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like,
I know what you mean, man.
it's tattoos are supposed to be cool. And I don't want to call anybody out specifically, but I had a talk with a guy this weekend. I was like, hey, man, tattoos are supposed to be He's like, I don't care about being cool. I'm like, oh, you do. You got a cool shirt on. You got a cool hat. You got a cool belt. You got, these cool boots. You looking all cool. You care. You got gold chains.
Yeah.
You care about cool. You got a gold tooth. You got a big mustache. You care about being cool.
Yeah.
You obviously care about being cool. You listen to cool music. You got hot chicks. You care about being cool.
Yeah.
Until it's easier. Then I'll use this dildo. You know, and it's tattoos are supposed to be cool, and that's all there is to it. If it's not about being cool, why do you have it? Why do you fucking get tattooed at all? Why do you even care? If you didn't care about being cool, you wouldn't even have a tattoo.
Yeah.
If you didn't care about being cool, you wouldn't have a motorcycle at all. If you didn't care about being cool, you wouldn't be driving a 1973 Cadillac hearse.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
No.
So, I
You
mean,
have a point.
yeah, we're fucking, it's a style.
Yeah.
It's a craft. It's a dedication. It's art. Art is about making stuff fucking cool.
Yeah.
And there's nobody that convinced me that dildo is cool. Technology doesn't always mean it's cooler or better.
But then they don't know what's wrong with it. Instead of if you had the old machine, you would figure it
No,
out.
that's a Bic lighter.
It's a big lighter.
You use
Just
it, you-
one,
Buy a
two,
new
three.
one.
Yeah. You're gonna, that in 20 years, they're all going to be in the landfill.
Yeah.
I have machines that are 60 years old.
Uh-huh.
And I tell people all the time, I was like, my machine right here, this is hand cut, hand sawed out of a plate of brass by a man in the United States of America in Kansas. He welded this thing together. He made it from scratch. He wound the coils. He drilled out the armature bar. He did everything custom by hand. And 100 years after I'm dead, somebody will be able to do a tattoo with it. That little fucking lithium battery dildo is going to be in a garbage can.
Yeah.
It's not a historical artifact.
No.
There's nothing. There's nothing cool about it. And now there's people that are making them that are anodized and have little designs engraved on the laser engraved on the side. Not even hand engraved on the side.
No.
There's someone. Oh, you're gonna try to make that thing cool? Are you fucking kidding me? Insane.
Yeah.
I
get what
just.
you mean.
I mean, I rant and rave and curse and shit and talk shit on everybody. And that's just my point of view. Obviously, you can do a good tattoo with them.
Yep.
And a good tattooer can probably do a good tattoo with whatever they have.
Yeah.
But I just don't think that, for me, I'm not going down that road.
Yeah.
I got fed up with it, and I just banned them at my shop. Nobody can use them.
Yeah.
Do
you think you're a dying breed?
I mean, we're all dying.
We're all dying.
And what I said last night, is I tell the young people that work for me, I was like, right now you have a very distinct opportunity in the history of time of tattooing. You can either jump on the new wave, or you can be the last of a great generation. You can be the last of a traditional tattooer. You know, and in 10 years, the young people that work for me, if they stick with it, they're going to be the only ones. Because I go to conventions now, and there's very, very few.
Yeah, I think it's cool that there's a few people trying to keep up like their stand, like yours.
And also just keep the history, where it came from and all that. And it's just not like press 1, 2, and on and off. It's more complicated than that.
But I have a lot of machines, and I can personally tune them. I can make them do what I want them to do. But that took care. That took me caring about tattooing enough to learn. You know, a young kid today is not going to care. They don't. You know what I mean? How much do they really care? Do they really care enough about tattooing to learn everything about it?
No, they won't, because it's easier to do it like that. It's more. It's nicer, you know. So it has changed.
Yeah, it's crazy. And to jump on the iPad train, I said this. I've said this before on numerous platforms, but when you draw on the iPad, you are being assisted. The computer is assisting your drawing. When you draw on the iPad, you put your pen down and you make a line. That iPad makes that line the exact same thickness the whole way, and smooth and clean. When you draw with a pen on paper, you push hard, the line gets thicker. You do light, the line gets thin. There's hand control. You know, I would assume that if you're an artist, I could only assume that your goal would be to be better. Always. You always want to be better at whatever you're doing. You're a race car driver, you want to be better. You know, you're a surgeon, you want to be better. You're a tattooer, you want to be better. You're a painter, you want to be better. And thus far, in my knowledge of the history of time, the only way to get better at something is to do it more. Not do it less. When you draw on the iPad, you're drawing less. 100% you're drawing less. Because it's helping you, and a lot of times you put it on where you mirror it, and it draws all the things, and you do one line, it makes all the other lines. So you're drawing less. So you use that iPad for 10 years, and somebody else draws on paper for 10 years, who's going to be better?
That's true.
Who's going to be, and nowhere has anybody ever gotten better at something by doing less of it. So if your goal is to be better, throw the didgeridoo, the iPad, in the trash and draw on paper. If you think you're already good enough and you never want to get any better and all you want to do is make it easy and convenient, then just keep doodling on your iPad. And that's how good you'll be forever. I don't care.
That's truth.
I feel like the guys that are using the coil machines, they also respect the craft a lot more. Just like you're saying, you know. Because I don't think new tattooers really think about this stuff. Like, you got to kind of earn it. You just go online and you buy stuff, you know.
I think there's also probably a lot of times there's not guys like you around to tell people.
Well, there was a lot of guys above me that were screaming at me my whole life of tattooing. Screaming at me about what to do and how to do it and when to do it and where to do it and who and blah, blah, you know what I mean? Like, but now it's like everybody just wants to be coddled and take it easy. And I tell all my friends that are using the iPad and using the dildo, I'm like, hey, it's not too late. I'm like, you can get rid of that.
Them,
It's like getting off. It's like getting off drugs. Like get off the dildo, man. You gotta get off the dildo. I've had quite a few people use it and say it's easy, and then stop using it and be like, it's not that much easier. You know what I mean? And it's like and everybody's like, oh, well, when I travel, it's just easier to take this. I'm like, come on. You know, how much weight are we talking about? You don't have to bring tubes. You don't have to bring this. You don't have to bring that. You only bring one machine or whatever. Like, let's add it up. Is it 10 pounds? maybe 15 pounds.
Not even that.
Let's say it's 20 pounds.
Okay.
You can't take 20 pounds. You can't, the hassle.
Yeah.
You got 2 big suitcases. You can't just put another 10 pounds in there.
Yeah.
I'm like, how easy does it need to be?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah. I get what you mean.
Like, how weak and how lazy do you aspire
Yeah.
to become?
Right. So you did 13 seasons of Ink Master. Is that a coincidence or?
I think I manifested it.
Yeah. I was thinking that.
I mean, 13 is the best number.
Yeah.
And when on day 1 of filming season 13, I was like, all right, guys, we made it.
Yeah.
This is it. 13, last season. And we were contracted to 15.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, oh, don't say that. You're going to jinx us. And sure enough, you know, it ended up getting spoiled. And, you know, numerous reasons why it got canceled. Pandemic being a little bit of it. But then me personally getting canceled was a little bit of it.
Yeah.
And party time.
Yeah.
And the network had a big changeover in upper management, which was also a part of it. You know, this whole, you know, there's not any one reason. You know, some people say that it got canceled just because of me, and some people got canceled because of the pandemic, and some people say it got canceled because of this or that. But it just happened.
Yeah.
You know, all the things just came together. And I was content. I was happy to do the show. I had a good time doing it. I did it for the money, obviously. You know, I mean, I wouldn't have done it without the money.
Of course not.
You know, but I also to backtrack to earlier, is like one of the reasons I ended up doing it is because it was going to happen with or without me.
Yeah.
You know, and so I had some friends, older tattooers than me. Some people said, no, fuck that. Tattoo TV sucks. Don't do it.
Yeah.
But then I had some really good people that I respect that told me, I was like, hey, if they're going to make this show, they said I should do it. They said somebody that cares about tattooing should be on there.
Yeah.
And I took that to heart, and I was like, okay, well, I'll take it seriously. And I did. You know, I took my job on there seriously, and you know, it's heavily edited. You know, we film for days.
Yeah.
You know, each 45-minute episode there's probably 100 hours of footage that they edit down. So, I mean, I'm talking shit for hours. And then they get that one little snippet, you know what I mean? So, but I mean, I took it very seriously, and I spent, you know, many overtime hours, like on set, looking at every tattoo. Because if I knew the next day, I had to go on the desk and critique these tattoos, I had to see them in person. So I stayed the night before when they were doing the tattoos. I stayed till 3 a.m. every night and looked at every single tattoo and was there in the room when they're taking photos of them, saying, hey, you got to get this photo, you got to get that photo, because when I call out this thing, you got to be able to zoom in on it.
Yeah.
And I did have a lot of fun doing it. And me and Chris and Dave got along so well, and we formed a great little bond over that thing. And you know, they're still the best.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it, but it also at the same time was nerve-wracking and painful and exhausting, and it took so much away from my life.
Yeah.
You know, there wasn't a single week that I was there that I didn't want to be somewhere else. Like I missed this convention, or I missed this motorcycle trip, or I missed this, or I was away from my shop, I was away from my dog, I was away from, you know what I mean? It was a major sacrifice to be on that show. And the money can only go so far. You know, at some point you have to be like, how much money do I need to be less happy?
Yeah.
And so when it ended, I was so relieved.
Yeah.
Because I work always. I'm a workaholic. I'm gonna make money however I have to. I'm gonna go work, and I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna whatever. And so I was just really relieved when it was over.
Yeah.
And I was proud of how well it did. And how long what's it going to do? Go on forever?
Right.
It's still going, right?
They started it back up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love the people that are on it now. You know, I'm friends with DJ and Ryan and Nico, and I'm happy for them. I don't think the show's the same. I think the show's a lot more sensitive, and I think someone needs to get on there and fucking tell these people they fucking suck, because that's what the show's about. You know?
Right.
But, I mean, I wish everybody the best.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy living my life and going on, and I couldn't imagine it going on much longer.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same. It was getting pretty repetitious. The producers did such a good job with it, and I was surprised every season.
Yeah.
But Dave was getting worn out. I was getting worn out. For me, it was the perfect time to stop.
Exactly.
And 13 just
Right.
13 for me was the perfect time to stop. And I think that the drama surrounding the ending of it, I think that's also great.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Closure.
yeah, man, it's an easy out.
Yeah.
But
I remember because I remember watching the first season when it came out, and like I said, you watched like not the whole season, like all the seasons, but over the course of it, like the standard of tattooing from the first season to like season 13, it's crazy. How far it went.
How much better the tattooers got. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, I think about season 5 or 6 is when it really made a big leap, and you started getting really good tattooers. Like, I want to go on there. I want to go on there. You know what I mean? So it was, the first couple seasons, it was hard to get people to show up and put themselves on the line for it.
Yeah.
And you got a lot of people that probably shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
You know, and there are a lot of people with false egos, like thinking that they're good when they don't even know how to I mean, every season, there was a tattooer on there that I told them they shouldn't even be allowed to own a machine.
Yeah.
Like I said it every season, and they would get pissed, and sometimes they would air it, sometimes they'd make the edit, sometimes it wouldn't.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's a lot of bad tattooers in the world.
They probably put them there on purpose, right?
Oh, well, I say this a lot, too. It's like, we filmed season 1, and after it was over, I was like, this show is not going to do well. I was like, this is going to be, like, there's a bunch of terrible tattoos, there's a bunch of fuck-ups, there's a bunch of this, and I was like, this is doomed. It's never going to work. Like, and I thought in my head, I was like, if I was making this show, I would get this and this and this and this and do this and do this and do this, and it would be the best, you know? And this show sucks. And then I watched the show when it came out, and I was like, it's funny. The worst tattoos are the best part of the show.
Right.
The more people fuck up, the more interesting it is, you know, and all this, the drama, and to look at it from a general public standpoint, like, it's interesting and people love it, and it just got better and better and better. Yeah. And then I thought back to my idea. I was like, if I was in charge of the show, it would be the worst, because I would have got all these great tattooers, and it would have been, and every tattoo would have been like, oh, you did great, you did great, you did great, you did great, you did great. What a great show! And everybody's like, boring. Right. You know what I mean? It would have been terrible. Yeah. Because, you know, the train wreck. Yeah. Is and the meltdowns and the freakouts and the fucking blah and the fucking, you know, the crazy clients. You know, they have these crazy clients come in. They want the craziest shit, and they're all fucking whacked out. They're fucking screaming and crying and jumping around. And like, I would have thrown them out and got a new one. I'm like, no, those are the best people. We need more of these crazy people.
You want people fighting, you know.
Oh, man.
I have to ask something.
Yep.
Were there ever, like, the critiques and stuff, like who was sent home, was it ever scripted or
Never.
It's good to know.
Me and Chris and Dave had 100% control over what we said and who went home. Yeah. Sometimes they didn't. Sometimes the producers didn't like it because we sent somebody home that was good on camera for them, a good character that they wanted, and we sent them home. And I was like, I don't give a fuck, they're out of here. But one thing that a lot of people don't really think about is that this is a game show. Yeah, like that's what it is. When nowadays, it made a reoccurrence on Netflix and got re-popular again after the pandemic, and all these people are watching it for the first time, and they're commenting at me on the internet like, you did this, and they're all mad and yelling and whatever. And I'm just like, y'all are arguing about something that happened on a game show 10 years ago. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, think about it. Like, this is a game show 10 years ago. You're not going to watch a 10-year-old episode of Family Feud and get mad at Pat Sajak about it, right? And so I was just like, it's a game show where somebody's going to win money. So there is such a thing as like game show law and rule. Like if you go on, I don't know if y'all have what game shows y'all watch over Jeopardy or whatever, whatever game show, the host can't have his brother come on and win. You know what I mean? It's like there's rules. And so in that law, since they're giving away money and it is a game show, the producers can't choose who's going to win. So they can't tell us. And there was a bunch of times over the seasons where they would be like, we would know that they wanted to keep so-and-so. But we're like, we're going to send so-and-so home. And they're like, and if they couldn't act like they were cared, because if they did, we would make jokes. Like, oh, you want us to keep so-and-so? And they're like, I didn't say that, because we're always mic'd up. So everything's recorded. So we would always fuck around and make jokes like they were trying to. And they're like, you can't say that. We're not telling you, So a lot of people think, and there was a lot of tattooers that came on the show, and then they felt like it was against them. Like, oh, well, the producers didn't want me, so they had me kicked off. And I'm like, that's not true, dude.
Excuses.
That's not true. You went home because I thought your tattoo sucked. And you're going to have to live with that. Now, you could say I'm wrong and your tattoo wasn't the worst, but that doesn't matter. There's your truth, my truth, and the real truth. And we got to just, you can believe whichever one you want. But the facts is that me, Chris, and Dave sent you the fuck home. And me, Chris, and Dave didn't always agree. A lot of times. Now, Dave usually agreed with me because I was more persuasive. Like if me and Chris disagreed, I was like really politicking with Dave. I'm like, Dave, listen to this. And I'm like, I'm like yelling and screaming and going back and forth. And Nunez just like, whatever. So I was like really tugging at Dave, like trying to get him to go with me, and I was really, whatever the word is.
Persuasive.
Yeah, persuasive. And I was energetic about it. I was really hyped up and like I was vocal about it. Nunez would just make his stand and be like, I'm doing this. And I'm like, so Dave usually went with me, and every once in a while he went with Nunez, and then I would always come up with a reason why he was wrong.
Of course. And
then for days I'm like, you did this, you did that. And so I would like, don't do that again. Like, it was pretty, we did have a lot of fun. And I did apologize to quite a few tattooers, because you watch back the show and you just see the edit, and you only see the few seconds where I'm mean. But each critique when I talk about a tattoo was usually 5 to 15 minutes. And I'd talk about everything about the tattoo, and I would say all the good things about it, and then I would say the bad things about it. I would go over the whole tattoo, and when it's somebody that I know is a good tattooer, I still, I respect them and I want to. But then when the show airs, it's like, you suck.
You can have a bad day as well.
Yeah, and and I understand that. I was like, hey man, that's how the edit comes out. But they were there in real life, so they saw the whole thing. But people at home, they don't see the whole thing. They don't see the hours of critiques. When there's 15 tattoos, I talk 10 minutes, Dave talks 7 or 8 minutes, Nunez talks 20 minutes on every tattoo. We're there 16 hours. Critiquing these tattoos over and over and going back and forth, and then we all debate, and then we go back and forth, and then they edit that down to 10 minutes. And so all you get is like, you suck, oh, you did great, like point out these little pinpoints of what's good and what's bad.
And pack your shop and leave. That was it.
Yeah. And there was a lot of times, man, when it was a hard decision, and it was very close, and it was heated. And you don't really, sometimes that would come through in the edit, but there was a lot of times when Dave had a hard time telling people they don't have what it takes. And so Dave would say, hey, and he'd give him the speech. He's like, I really like you. I think your art is great. I'm sorry you got to go. It's just your time. I'm proud of you for making it this far. And it was emotional, and they're like upset and whatever. But then the producers, bring them back in.
Okay.
Stand on the line. Dave, you've got to say you do not have what it takes to be a master.
Okay.
And so Dave's like, fuck.
Yeah.
And he's just like, and sometimes it would take a couple of takes for him to say it and be stern. Because he'd be like, I just, and then he would say it, but then the only thing the world knows is the one time Dave goes, you do not have what it takes.
Yeah.
And so it seems a lot rougher, and the people go home. They've been home for 6 months. Then their show's on. Then it starts airing. All their families watching, and it's like, you don't know how the edit's going to be.
Yeah.
Like, you go home, you remember this whole whirlwind, and then they throw it on TV, and you're an asshole. You know what I mean? And so it's like a lot of people you don't know. And I people that I know that come on the show that I knew them before, I warn them. I was like, hey, man, I tell people on the side, I'm like, listen, you don't know how this edit's going to come out. Don't say anything that you don't want the world to hear.
Yeah.
Because if you get on there and just talk shit for you're there for 3 months. If you go the whole distance, you're there 3 months. If I put you two in a room and filmed every word you said for 3 months, I could make an edit.
Yeah.
I could edit, and you could be a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
You could be the nicest guy in the world. You could be the sensitive crybaby little pussy. You could be the fucking biggest asshole. Because you're gonna.
Right.
Life is long.
It's the magic of TV time.
And you're on camera every waking minute.
Yeah.
For 3 months. You get like an hour a day to like have your phone and call your family, or some amount of time a day. But you can't have your phone while you're there, because you can't just be looking at your phone when you're on TV.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't have music playing.
Yeah.
Can't have television. Can't have the radio. Can't have the internet. You're just in this room with 18 to 12, 10, it whittles down as you go. But you're in that room with those people and nothing else.
Yeah.
You're just in the room with cameras on you for 3 months.
And then you're supposed to do good tattoos.
And then you're supposed to get good tattoos.
Yeah.
And it's like, so people are always like, oh man, do those people really always, do they really freak out? Do they really cry? Do they really whatever? I was like, dude, you got to understand. These people are put to the limit.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, why can't they have music? I'm like, well, because they're filming.
Yeah.
And they're going to edit it. They put the music in later. You know what I mean? You can't have music going.
No.
Like if we had a song playing right now, that wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Because you got to hear the voice and then you put the music in later.
Yeah.
You can't have them watching TV. You know what I mean? You can't have the internet because then they're going to fucking whatever. So they don't have any emotional outlets except that camera is sucking your soul out for 3 fucking months. And so you're going to crack. Everybody cracks.
Yeah.
I mean, I fucking crack in there. I get the fuck, and me, Chris, and Dave, we could leave.
Yeah.
I could get on my motorcycle and go to the store.
Yeah.
These fuckers are trapped in that room. They don't go nowhere.
Yeah.
It's like kindergarten.
Right. Were they never? Are they never like encouraged to react more, or the contestants?
I mean, they're, when shit gets emotional, you don't really even have to encourage them. Like they're by halfway through the season, everybody's so bottled up, they're just ready to spew. You know what I mean? So it's like you don't really have to do much. They have this formula down.
Yeah.
They trap them in this room. They give them no outlets. They fucking stir up they shake you put them in this ball and you shake them up.
Yeah.
But if y'all two are on the show and y'all aren't getting along,
I would win.
no, they're gonna put they're gonna put you in a room together with a camera on you for 4 hours.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And you're like, oh, and you're just like, well, I'm just not gonna talk to anybody then.
Yeah.
How long can you do that?
Right. Yeah. They know what they're doing.
A couple of days, you could probably just be like, fuck these people, I'm not gonna pay attention.
But
then weeks go by, you can't just. Solitary confinement is a torture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're
It
not gonna
sounds
solitude yourself. You're gonna end up boiling over.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to also ask you about, because you have a podcast now,
I do.
talked about earlier.
Pretty new.
Yeah?
Pretty new
Tell
podcast.
people about it.
Well, we started talking about the concept of doing a podcast about 2019, and I started kind of the ball rolling, and then just lagged on it, got busy, traveled, I was busy with so many other things that just got put off. So finally this year I just decided like I either need to do it or don't do it. And so we just made it a priority and started working on it, and now I think got like 7 or 8 episodes out.
Yeah.
A new episode's coming out. I think this week a new episode comes out. We've recorded it, and then it takes about a week or so to get. I've recorded it right before I left, and then takes a little bit of time to get it edited and get launched onto the platforms and stuff.
Yeah.
But I've had a couple of tattooers on there, and then I've had some friends of mine that are musicians, and then I've had Norman Reedus, who's an actor. I've had a few. It's not only about tattooing. I've had some friends in the motorcycle industry on there, so it's kind of just each episode is basically just whatever the guest is about their life and about what's going on. I try to. So far, it's been kind of the platform has kind of been about PMA, about positive mental attitude, and how you can manifest positivity in your life, and what major life trauma and changes that you've gone through to get you where you are now. Because I think one thing that a lot of people, when they see people that have achieved some sort of success or some sort of level, in their own career, I think what a lot of people don't understand is that anybody who's done something really interesting in their life has had a lot of trial and error, a lot of failure, a lot of mistakes, a lot of struggle, a lot of and I want to show that. I want to, it's kind of an inspirational kind of thing when you find out how hard it was for somebody to become something, instead of just thinking, oh, that guy's lucky, he's fucking cool. Oh, that guy's got a motorcycle shop. Oh, that guy has a tattoo shop, or that guy's famous actor or whatever, you know what I mean? But most of the people I know that have achieved anything have done it through perseverance and hard work. And so I kind of like find out why and how and when people were able to overcome. And for me, I just call it PMA, positive mental attitude. And I just manifest a good time out of whatever situation you're in. Like whatever's happening, you have the choice to make it better or make it worse. If something bad happens to you, you can be negative and it can get worse, or you can turn it around. You can, and I'm not saying you can always win. I'm not saying you can always be the best. I'm not saying you can always have 100% happiness, but you can affect every situation and everybody around you. You can make it. You have the choice to make it sometimes way better, but at least a little better, or a little worse. Like, you have that power. Everyone has that power.
Yeah.
Really agree with that. Yep.
Yeah, it's people, like you said, there's a difference between, because a lot of people think about doing stuff, but it's a difference between just thinking about it and just going for it, you know.
Yeah.
And that's,
No,
I think,
I would always say mistakes makes you a master.
Yeah.
If you don't make any mistakes, you will not be a master.
Yeah.
That's 100%.
And troubles are opportunities. Just, you know, if you think that, then you'll win.
A lot of people are waiting for happiness.
Yes.
You know, they're waiting for the thing that's going to make them happy. They're waiting for the thing that's going to be good to them. You know, you have to choose it. You have to see it. You have to fucking go after it and hunt it down. You have to chase it. You have to work for it. You have to strive. You know, there's no easy way.
yeah.
And and that being kind of my mindset in life is part of the reason that I don't like the modern conveniences. And I don't like it. It hits a chord in me when people take the easy route. And it permeates every part, like whether it's the dildo machine or the trash can with wheels or whatever it is. It's like, man, why is everybody so worried about the easier, the more convenient thing? That's not the happier ending.
Yeah.
You know, that just because it's easier doesn't mean you're going to be happier when it's done.
Yeah.
And that's what sometimes people have to go through that struggle before they find that out.
Yeah.
I mean, I take the stairs. You know what I mean? Like,
Keeps
there's
you
an
young.
elevator or stairs, I take the stairs.
Keeps you young.
Now, if I had a reason to take the elevator, like I have too many bags, then I'll take the elevator up.
Yeah.
Like in our hotel this weekend, like we got there the first day, me, John, and Audra, we had all the stuff for the convention. So we took the elevator up. Haven't used the elevator again, you know?
Yeah.
Now, when I leave and I have all the stuff, I'll take the elevator down. But it's not quicker
No.
to take the elevator. Why are you taking the
Could
elevator?
be slower. You could run up the stairs, you know.
Well, I mean, I just walk down the stairs at a regular pace. It's the same speed, if not faster, than the elevator, because you got to wait on the elevator. You got to wait for the door to open. You got to wait for the door to close. You got to wait for somebody to get in. You got to wait for it to stop on another floor. You know what I mean? But it drives me crazy when the escalator. Y'all have the escalator.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
and
People
people get on
stamping.
it and they just stand still. I was like, this is stairs, people. It's stairs.
Yeah.
Why are you not stepping?
The point is for it to get you up quicker than regular stairs.
When I'm on the escalator, I walk down it or walk up it. But if there's an escalator and stairs right next to it, I take the stairs. And when we got here at the airport, there's a long escalator and then 3 levels of stairs that go down. And I'm like going down the stairs and I'm just passing the people that are on the escalator. People are standing on the escalator and I'm like, they're like, "Nee," and I'm like,
It's always that way.
it's like, why are y'all just standing there?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm going to take this any opportunity I can find to do nothing. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm like, that's all y'all are doing in life?
Yeah.
You're just wandering through life, waiting for the opportunity to do nothing.
Yeah.
That's your goal? It doesn't make any sense to me.
I've even seen people waiting in line to go on an escalator and the stairs are empty. Like, just go up the stairs.
Yeah, of course.
I need that minute to do nothing. All I care about is that minute to do nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, I get on the escalator and I just stand there. It's insane.
Right.
Do you have a message, like if people are listening who are thinking about getting into tattooing or, you know?
Well, the one thing I tell all the young people that come up to me and ask about getting into tattooing, I said, have you tattooed yourself? And then they say, well, no. I'm like, well, then you obviously don't want tattoos bad enough because you're there. You really want tattoos? Start doing it.
Yeah.
What are you waiting for? You're obviously not that committed. You obviously don't really want it. If you really, really wanted tattoos and all you cared about was tattooing, you'd have tattoos right now because you could do them yourself at home right now, today. And I tell all my friends that have young kids, I tell the young kids, I'm like, hey, if they're like 10, 11, 12, I was like, hey, Just get a needle, get a safety pin, get a staple, get whatever. Break open a pin, stick it in there, stab yourself, you got a tat.
Yeah.
And the mom's like, don't tell him that. I'm like, dude, that's what I did. If they really want, it's like you're going to force your kid to play football or force your kid to skateboard. You're going to let your kid do whatever they want. You know, and if the kid wants to do tattoos, let him tattoo himself.
Right.
And if you haven't tattooed yourself, you don't really want tattoos.
Yeah.
Don't come to me saying I want tattoos, and you don't even have one yet. That's bullshit. You're just fucking scared. Nah, this ain't the business for scared people. This ain't the business for weak people. This ain't the business for people that, ooh, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to go to college first. I'm like, no, fuck no. Anybody that wants to fucking tattoo and they say they're going to go to college first, I'm like, nah. School's for fools.
Yeah,
no way.
I got into it because I didn't want to go to school, you know. It was one of the reasons.
But I don't know. I think it's really hard to get into. I think it's still hard to get into tattoo industry, even though it's easier than it used to be. Obviously, you tell people like, hey, the best thing to do is to find someone to apprentice you, and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to find somebody. I have never apprenticed anyone because I don't have the time.
Yeah.
Like it takes time. It takes a lot of dedication from the tattooer to teach. You know, you're gonna spend. I'm too busy, and you know, it's not really. I don't think what we're missing is more tattooers. So I'm not I'm not on the hurry to try to teach a bunch of people.
Yeah.
But what I've done in my at Elm Street Tattoo is I have hired many early tattooers, you know, that have been tattooing 2, 3, 4 years. And then I've hired them at Elm Street, and then I have helped them from there. So I've helped a lot of, I mean, not just me in general, but the shop and everyone at the shop and me as well have helped people become good tattooers. I just don't have that time to do that first 2 years because that's a full-time job.
Yeah.
And now a lot of people that do apprentice, they just basically work at the shop for free or be the tattooer's gopher or clean the shop or whatever. But when it used to be is that you would pay for an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
And that concept of paying for apprenticeship is pretty much gone. Nobody has that mentality anymore. And, I mean, I remember in the 80s, it was like, before I was tattooing, I just learned about it, you know, that from the people I worked from, it's like, oh, yeah, it was, you know, the standard was $5,000.
Yeah.
You know, like, you pay $5,000, you apprentice for a year, blah, 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 then you're a tattooer or whatever. And then the 90s, it was like sometimes more. Some people paid, you know, whatever. And some people, I knew of a lot of instances where it would be $10,000. And then you'd pay ever so much money. And then once you start tattooing, you pay back or whatever until whatever. But it's nowadays the concept is like, oh, I just work at the shop for free and learn to tattoo, or someone decides to take on an apprentice, so they find somebody. You know what I mean? But people, you know, education and people paying and dedicating so much money for education in the other fields, like they don't have that concept that they're going to pay to learn to tattoo, which is, I think, crazy, because you could go to college, get some degree, and then never find a job in that degree. Most people that have degrees don't have jobs that have anything to do with their degree, you know. But tattooing, you learn to tattoo. I mean, you pay $10,000 for a tattoo apprenticeship. How long? You know, you're gonna instead of $100,000 of student debt. You know what I mean? That people in America have. I don't know. I think it's. I've had a handful of people that have like, I've been looking everywhere. I've gone to every shop. I've gone to every shop in town. Nobody's taking apprenticeships. And I'm like, well, to tell you, tattoo yourself.
Yeah.
You know.
Or maybe your work is not good enough. You know.
Yeah. Let's take a quick break.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh.
I'll take a pee-pee. A good story?
Yeah.
Oh, man. About what?
Anything you want.
Oh, man. I probably have a few stories.
Some tattoo mistake stories. I have one.
Let's hear it.
There was a guy here who died. There was a tattoo guy here, you know. And
Off to a great start.
Yeah, and the customer comes in and says, you know, I want Jim Morrison. And the guy says, yeah, no problem. Part of Jim Morrison, no problem. Went to the computer, printed it out, stands it on. And when he's almost finished, on his thigh here, big picture of Jim Morrison. And the friend comes in and says, what are you getting? He says, I'm getting Jim Morrison. And he looks at it and says, no, this is Val Kilmer. Play Jim Morrison. He got the wrong picture.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's bad.
I mean, I think it's crazy that people purposely get actors from movies playing characters.
Yeah, I've seen that as well.
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So wild. Man, I have an old story that I haven't told in a while, but it's a good one.
Okay,
This guy comes in. This is my, like when I was maybe the first couple of years of tattooing. This guy comes in the shop, kind of like a gangster dude.
Yeah.
And he's like, I want to get a tattoo. And I'm like, all right, let's do it. And he's like, I want to get on my chest. I'm like, what do you want? He goes, I want D evil right here on my chest. Mm-hmm. And so what I do when somebody says they want to, first thing I do is I go get the tracing paper and I get a marker and I come back and I'm like, all right, let's see where you want the tattoo. And he shows me. I say, so I trace a spot on the tracing paper. I'm like, all right, on your chest, what do you want? He goes, I told you, man, I want D, evil. And I'm like, all right. So I write down, like if I trace a spot and somebody wants a ship with flowers and an anchor of clouds, I write ship, flower, anchors, clouds, well, you know, and I write it and then I start sketching it or whatever. So he says D, evil. So I write a letter D and I write the word evil. And I'm like, well, what kind of font? He goes, no, man. I don't want the words. I'm like, you don't, so what do you want? He goes, man, I told you, man, I want D evil. And I was like, but you don't want the words. No, man, I want the man, the mister. And I'm just like, in my mind, I'm like, having a communication breakdown with this guy, right? I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck this guy wants. I'm like, you want the man? He goes, that's right. And he kept hitting his chest, going, on my chest. And I'm just like, all right, man, I don't know what you want. You have to give me a little more. Tell me what you want. He goes, no, man, you know what I'm talking about. The evil himself. The Skeletor. And I'm like, Skeletor?
Really?
There's a cartoon in America called He-Man. And Skeletor. I'm like, Skeletor? He goes, that's right, Skeletor with the cape. And a knife on a stick.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, knife on a stick? And I start thinking about it, and I realize in my mind, he wants the Grim Reaper.
Right.
Of course.
Skeletor with a cape and a knife on a stick. And I go, oh, man, you want the Grim Reaper. And he goes, that's right, Rim Gripper. Right here, Rim Gripper. And I'm like, so then for years, we just called it Rim Gripper. Rim Gripper. And so I did these drawings of like a skeleton with a Superman cape, holding like a 2x4 with the buck knife taped to it, you know what I mean? Skeletor with a cape. But this guy was intense.
Yeah.
No, man, I want the man.
Be evil. Yeah, that's good. So do you think you'll ever come back to Iceland?
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. My world geography wasn't the best.
Yeah.
So I didn't know exactly where Iceland was close to other than, anything. But apparently it's not that far from like Ireland and whatnot.
Nope.
Yeah.
So I go to Ireland pretty much every year. So I'm thinking now the next time I come to Ireland, I can just
Pop over.
pop.
Great.
You know, I usually do a couple of international trips a year. This is my first time leaving the country since 2020.
Yeah.
You know, the shutdown and the planes and the mandates and the crazy hoops that I wouldn't jump through. And I'm what they call in America I'm what they call an anti-masker.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I wouldn't get on a plane when they had to. So I was just like, when they were getting crazy with all that shit, I was like, I'm never flying again.
Yeah.
I was just set. I was like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
This little piece of paper thing, I don't believe in it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to play a part of it. So I wouldn't get on a plane. So I just started flying this year.
Yeah.
Just because I had some friends that went to Europe last year, and I had some friends that went to went to South America, and then something while they were there was like whatever, and they try to lock down or whatever. And in my head, I'm like, the last thing I want to do is get stuck somewhere when some kind of craziness happens. And so I was like, but now things have leveled out and it's chill, and we had a great flight over here.
Great.
But hopefully I'll get back to a lot more international travel. And I usually, like I said, do a couple of international trips a year, and I'll go to multiple places. And but I can't say it enough. I'm pretty sure I said it before, but I'll say it again. This convention is the kind of tattoo convention that I really like. You know, small, really a lot of care and attention put into putting it on. And the crew of people here, Kinga and Hilder and Linda and Össur, man, the way they took care of everybody and the way they put on this event, it just is the way it should be.
Yeah.
You know, and I was really stoked to be able to be a part of it. I heard about this convention for many years. I have multiple friends that have come here many times and just talk about how great it is. And everybody here in Iceland has been super cool, super friendly. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely want to come back.
Great.
And just stoked on
It's
it.
good to know. I'll get tattooed next time you're here.
Yeah, stoked on it, man.
It's been a real pleasure having you.
It's cool. And a shout out to all those other people that live in other cities that want to put on little tattoo conventions. I really hope that this trend continues and people will put on smaller,
More intimate.
put more care into tattoo conventions. I put on a convention in Dallas. It's called Elm Street Fest, and it's also this. We just had it in May, and it was our 11th year, and it's 26-7 tattooers.
Yeah.
So 25, 6, 7, or 8 tattooers. Always less than 30 tattooers, and it's built for the tattooers to have a good time and be busy and a shared experience.
Yeah.
You know, we're all it's like everybody's there together on the same team. Like here, we all went to dinner. We all go to dinner. Same thing in Dallas. You know, it's like, it's not like you go to a big convention with hundreds of tattooers and then every night,
everything scatters.
yeah, everything scatters and everybody's not on the same schedule. It's there are some really good tattoo conventions that are also bigger. Like I really like the Salt Lake City Tattoo Convention, and the Albuquerque, New Mexico one is really good. But there's a lot that I don't want to go to anymore. You know, if it's not the people that you can just tell. You know, this one's put on with care and great people.
Awesome.
Amazing. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, man.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Woo.